Welcome to the Founders Music Lab, the music and startup community. Get ready for a lesson in execution, persistence, and focus from someone who literally started straight out of college to build an iconic retail store. This is not just a story of an entrepreneur who built a business. This is a story of a mother, a founder, a friend, and a wife who founded, built, and established a very profitable enterprise. And 20 years later was able to sell it. Not just sell it, but ensure its succession is secure and its future is bright. We are very excited to talk to Dana Shortt, founder and previous owner of Dana Shortt Gourmet and Gifts. We hear about things that almost took her down and how she got through it. We hear about juggling responsibilities and making it work. We hear about those that helped along the way and advice that many ignore, but she didn't, and how it catapulted her business. Listening, learning, testing, executing. All things musicians and founders need to do. Dana is an old friend of Ed's, and when Ed suggested we ask her to join us on a podcast, it was an immediate yes, please. I've watched her store evolve over the last 20 years, and the word-of-mouth love for her store was enviable. This was my first time meeting Dana, and I have to tell you, it was not only memorable, but inspiring. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. This episode brought to you by Eco Coffee. Be sure to visit Eco Cafe in the village of St. Jacobs. We're pleased to offer Eco Coffee products on our website at foundersmusiclab.com. All right, welcome to episode number 6. This is the last one we're doing before we launch live on July 1st, Canada Day. So we'll launch our first one. You will have already, by the time you hear this one, you will already have gone through the first 5, I hope. Maybe skip one, I don't know. But just to reiterate what the purpose of this podcast is, we are a startup. We are the Founders Music Lab. Our goal and our mission is to curate creativity through music, through startups, through business, through creativity. I just said that twice. And we're going to take you along our journey as we go from basically the ideation. And at some point, we're going to have a venue. We're going to have that has a coffee shop, that has music lessons, that has music groups, that gives everybody a chance to come in and play and experience music in ways that they may never have done before. And you'll follow along, and we'll tell you where we're at. Today we met with potential investors and some potential partners. We get to sort of think about that and what we want to do that as partners here and collectively and see where it goes. Right now we're just finishing up our podcasts. We will have more podcasts. Don't worry about that. Well, I hope you're worried about that. And we'll keep you posted as to how we're going and how things are evolving in this startup world. So today, we are so fortunate to have Dana Shortt. Now, I think everybody in the region knows Dana Shortt. She's been a staple in the culinary world. She had Dana Shortt. What was the name of it? Dana Shortt something and Gifts. Gourmet and Gifts. Right. She's looking at me. It's going, do your homework. Yeah, I did my homework.
I just didn't write it down.
My short-term retention, and I don't write it down. Anyways, we are so happy to have Dana with us. She has been an example of someone who started something from scratch, literally from scratch, and built an incredible business. And we get to find out about her life, how she did it, where she is now, and what she's looking to do in the future. And perhaps we can get some tips on how to build a startup. So welcome, Dana Shortt.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Earlier today, Dana, I was thinking about, our intersections over the years and how we've crossed paths several times. So I was telling these guys that the first time that we met was way back in the beginning of both of our businesses. I don't know if I was trying to sell you coffee or if I was trying to buy food, but either or, we ended up having a business relationship where we bought scones from you and we resold them. We ended up bringing that in-house, so we kind of diverged the path there, and then we ran into each other again, 10 years after that, and we did the DISC program together.
I was thinking
and
that,
we were in the preludes of the DISC program, and for those, I don't even know what DISC stand for anymore. Digital Innovation something.
Skill Certificate.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Communitech, right?
It was sponsored by Communitech, and then there were several other sponsors, like name sponsors that have, had intelligent apps at the time. So we're going back almost 10, 15 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, it was 2016.
Yeah, so almost 10.
Yeah, exactly.
And then recently we ran into each other again. And so it's really an interesting, scenario of seeing snippets of someone's life over time that were parallel universe in the same city, but, you're busy doing your thing. For me, I always like to talk to people about, day in the life. So in this case, I kind of want to hear a day in the life of the beginning of your business venture, and then maybe a day in the life nowadays, and how that's changed over the years, whether it be family, kids, businesses, and that's kind of where my take on all this is. I'm really interested in how people. I know my world. I know what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I just think that everybody's doing the same thing that I'm doing, but obviously it's not that, and so it's a good question to start with.
Okay, great. So I went to University of Guelph and I went to George Brown for culinary school. Knew I wanted to come back to Waterloo and start a business here. Is where I'm from, born and raised. And my intention was to be a personal chef or a private chef, which is what I started doing. So going into people's homes and leaving them with 2 weeks worth of dinners for them. So for busy professionals or singles. And that led to people asking if I would cater, which ultimately led to me having a store, because people would sometimes ask me, well, instead of catering the whole large affair for 20 or 40 or 100, can I pick up things for a dinner party? Can I pick up things for the cottage to load up the coolers? And so then I realized I needed a store, not only to have things like products delivered to me, but also for people who just wanted to get a few items and not necessarily have everything catered. So in those early days, I opened the store in November of 2004, and I was the single employee. I had a merchandiser, a friend to this day, Jennifer, who came in 2 hours a week. But I was the cook, I was the receptionist, I was a catering coordinator. Very soon, I did get a few part-time chefs. And then when I was featured in the Record, I had won an award from the Chamber of Commerce. Things just really took off, and I hired a few full-time cooks. But so for a couple of years, it was just 24/7, and I really wore so many hats. In 2008, I bought the business that was adjacent to the very small store that is now just the kitchen, a store called Blessings, which was gift baskets and chocolates and giftware.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I bought the business from Judy and Karen, and we expanded into that space. So then I went from 480 square feet, including the kitchen. I mean, the storefront was 120 square feet, I believe, and I had some rooms in the basement. My landlord at the time was very generous with letting me have some space downstairs. So moved over next door, bought Blessings, which led into gift baskets, led into chocolates, led into giftware. And then that became about 2,000 square feet. The joke at the time was that I was expanding because I was pregnant with my first son, who's now 17. The store was expanding.
400 square feet wasn't going to, you weren't going to fit in there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't gain that much weight.
Well, there's food involved too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then just over time, so I sold the business last summer. And by that time, it had been it had been 20 years. And, by the time, for the last many years, I was able to work on mainly just creative endeavors. So writing and developing recipes, the newsletters. I loved the merchandising, so styling the store. I did all the buying. But the day-to-day, and I, hadn't opened the store, closed the store, to be honest, made a quesadilla or an entree in probably, I'd say 15 years for the actual cooking in the store. I could go in and help if they needed anything, and maybe 10 years in terms of actually being an opener or closer. And I had a great team. So I don't know if that answers your question. It started from...
Can I sort of go back to where you started? When you decided to get a storefront, there's a whole bunch of things that you had to deal with that you probably had never dealt with before.
Correct.
Most people, they think, hey, let's open a store, or let's do this, or let's do that. And there are a lot of things that pop up, like zoning and...
Oh, my gosh.
Can you sort of go back to that period and take us through that?
I haven't thought about that one in a while. So, yes, it was completely new. I had only had one job ever before this. I was really young. I had a job after university. My brother was in tech, and I went to a party, and they met me, and they're like, she's really outgoing. We want to interview her. And I was the front desk receptionist for less than a year. Then I went to chef school. So in terms of, I just really didn't have much experience at all in any sector. So it was all really new and a lot of research. So
you've got a BCom, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And then you went, and then you had that
little
break, and then you went to culinary
Then I went to George Brown, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So my point in just sharing with that is I really didn't, I had 9 months or whatnot, aside from being a server in university and things. I really didn't have any corporate experience, or I was, 25 years old.
Right.
So I had to learn as I went. My dad was a lawyer, so he was very helpful. He was a commercial real estate lawyer, so he knew about leases and that was extremely helpful. But a lot of things, finding a place. And I remember I look back and think, oh, thank God they didn't lease to me, because it would have been too remote of a location. And yes, the city. Actually, an interesting story. Email was around for not that long, and I found out I went a lot into the city, and, I was always friendly, of course, and polite and respectful. People were nice to me. But found out what my zoning was. I think it's C7. I can't remember, but so they told me that. But at the time, a food store was kind of lumped in with restaurants, because it was like a specialty food store was really not that common or well known. And I signed this lease, and then someone from the city, who I will not name, said, "Oh,
but I want to."
No regret.
said, "Sorry, you know what? You're out of luck. Basically, it's not zoned for your use." And because it was email, and I kept everything, and I asked the right questions and documented it, I still professionally responded. But here's the email saying that you said it was okay. So, and turns out they then changed the zoning and whatnot, and understanding more of the fact that not every food establishment is necessarily a sit-down restaurant. Right. But so that was definitely a learning curve. Another thing I remember, I had to cater for 2 years. I rented Bright Up Kitchen on Margaret Ave. They have a kitchen upstairs. There was a trolley. I had to load my stand mixer, and oh my gosh, was it ever an enormous amount of work. But I had to do that for 2 years before I had the store to save up $50,000, which was what it cost for me to have the proper ventilation and exhaust fans. And then I needed an engineer's drawings. We had to go through 2 stories, because where 55 Herb is, it's a 2-story building, had to go through the landlord's office.
Nice.
And we got along. Hey, Rick, if you're listening, he's a great guy. So had to do that.
There are good landlords out there. Rick is one of them.
Yes,
okay.
Rick Rouse.
Shout out to Rick.
Yeah. So that had to happen. And then, of course, I remember just even the equipment. What's so funny? Lulu's. We all remember Lulu's, right? So at the back of Lulu's was a commercial restaurant equipment place. The guy's name was John. He was so nice. My mom and I one time went in there. I remember we had matching red raincoats. Really weird. I love my mom's coats. I bought the same one, and we happened to be wearing them because it was raining that day. We're in heels. We're wandering around. I'm sure that guy thought I'd be out of business in 6 months. So I got everything I could, like the equipment used, but in good condition, and triple sink, and then you have to know about all of the public health codes and what you need, and hand washing, and 3-compartment, 2-compartment, the venting system. So that was all a massive learning curve, and it was really expensive. And then George Robb, a shout out to the engineer, he's still a customer, great guy. People really helped me. I looked about 16.
We were going to ask you about the people that help, the people that brought you up. That was Steve. Steve doesn't say much. But he keeps us together. That was one of his questions. Is like, let's talk about the people that help bring people up. And you had a lot of help at the beginning. You had your dad. You had your the equipment guy. You had the landlord.
Oh, So I had my mom too. I should mention my mom is awesome, very supportive. My parents told me from day one, which I didn't ask, but they said we will be. We are there for you, but we're not going to loan you any money, which I didn't ask and I didn't want. And I'm really glad that was the case, because then if I wasn't doing well, which wasn't the case, but couldn't say to me, well, we think you should open on Sunday. We think you should open later. We think you should take on this catering gig that you don't want to do or whatnot. But like in terms of emotional support, and they'd come in and help me sometimes, absolutely. But that was really hard too. It was very hard. I had to struggle so hard for someone to give me a $10,000 loan. So I really had to be creative, and I really had to save, and I really had to make sure that I didn't waste anything. And that the loss in terms of spoilage in the business was less than 0.3%.
Wow. That's amazing.
So the whole model that I started with, because I worked in restaurants, not for very long, but even as a server was what I did mainly in university. And I saw how much waste there was. And that's why the model of, we have a few things, that fresh cheese torts and garlic spread and things like that. But everything I developed as a recipe had to be able to be frozen, and it wouldn't lose any of its quality or taste, or because some things just don't freeze well. So that it was in the fresh fridge for a day or two. If it didn't sell fresh, it moved to the freezer. And then ultimately, as we grew and got busier, everything that was made was based on what we needed to stock the freezer. But that means there was zero waste. Or if there was some chocolate product that still had 3 weeks or 4 weeks left, we could then chop it up. We could put it into a scone or a shortbread. We'd always, and some things, of course, go on sale. But
Dana shortbread?
Yeah, Dana shortbread, 2 Ds. But now I feel like I'm telling you stories, and I didn't. Oh, you asked me. I'm sorry. About who helped. I had so many people who helped me. So my parents, of course. And then
how'd you get the $10,000?
I went to TD and Joanne Renault. She was my first business banker, and she knew my mom somehow. I can't remember, maybe some volunteer organization. And I had to write a business plan. So I wrote a business plan. This is before ChatGPT and everything else, right? and I think I went to the library. How am I going to write this business plan? So, and I had that, and I had a little bit saved up. And I think she must have had to pull some strings, because over many years, even though we were very healthy financially and it was a very clean business, it was hard. Like when I did the renovation in 2015, like, oh my gosh, that was very expensive, and it was very, very hard to get any money, because they lump you in with restaurants, which we all know, unfortunately, has a massive failure rate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't seem to distinct between a specialty food store and a restaurant. Right,
and despite the fact that you've had 15 years of positive growth.
Yeah, despite the fact, absolutely. And I got to say, in terms of thank you as well, my Aunt Susan, who we'll talk about, I'm sure, who was with me for 9 years, unbelievable, amazing, so intelligent. She used to run the HR at Princess Margaret Hospital, so she was very overqualified, but she was just an incredible help. And then all the people, to be honest, who, like, when I look back, I didn't really give it a lot of thought at the time, because I was so young, but my parents had a lot of friends who, one of my dad's friends was in a poker group and said, hey, let's get Shorty's daughter to make our entree and a salad, So like, instead of maybe if they had, I don't know what they would typically do, if they'd order in pizza or whatever it might be, I had things like that, or people who I grew up with who might say, well, let's get Dana we're doing our wine tasting. Let's see if she wants to do a couple trays of drop-off hors d'oeuvres. And then if I did a good job with that, they might say, okay, maybe she can do the dinner party for 8. And when I did a dinner party for 8 and it went off without a hitch, and then they might say, well, yeah, I think, you know what, I know she looks young and she's a new business, but everything went really smoothly. Maybe we'll have her do the husband's 50th birthday party for 60 or that kind of thing. Because I was extremely organized. Everything was documented in terms of what we had to, like the catering sheets were down to what I gave the directions to the staff on these sheets, because again, this is before Waze. Right? In terms of, so there was nothing that possibly could go wrong. The exact time you're supposed to be there. We had a list of all the things they had to do before they left an event, and down to like removing the oven thermometer from the oven, to wine bottles in the recycling bin. Everything was checked off. The customer signed off on it. So,
did you come up with this on your own? Or was this
yes,
through
but I read
school,
my
or-
favorite book to this day is The Entrepreneurial Myth, the E-Myth.
Yeah.
And
I was just gonna say you're kind of like the textbook of what not to do, because I think in the first chapter it talks about you go to school to study. I think it was a pie maker.
It was.
Yeah. And then they're like, just because you know how to make pies doesn't mean you know anything about business. But you
It's
are
so true.
absolutely an exception to that rule.
Yeah, so I read that book and it was life-changing. I think I read it 3 times over the 20 years. The last time I had it, and actually it was the last time it was in my car with the CDs. Now it would be on Audible or whatnot. But I just thought it was such a tremendous book, and it right away. So when I read it and it says, set your business up like it's a franchise, even if you never intend to franchise, which is what I did in terms of how my staff answer the phone, what they wear. When people came in, if you came in and said, I'd like to, hey, I want to have a catered event, and if I wasn't there was a form they filled out in terms of reason for event, date, and just so many things. And then these checklists, I structured every single thing that I could, and it did allow me freedom, because I was only doing every little job for a short time, and I realized this isn't sustainable. And I also really believe in the power of, we all have different strengths, and I wanted to bring good people onto the team, and so that was a good break book for me.
You knew it was hard, but you had to let go of things. Did you worry about the control and letting?
Well, you know what? Sorry, one thing I didn't mention that was really key was we did this with our recipes as well. Everything was standardized, down to the gram. So I realized I don't want to hire chefs. I want to hire production cooks, or I want to hire really good people that are smart and that can learn, because we don't want a chef in there adding in, I think it needs a little more fresh thyme. I think it needs a little more cinnamon or whatever it may be, because we want that when you have the cashew chicken curry, we want it to taste the same today as it did a year ago, as it will in 2 years. And that book was about the Big Mac. How you can be in Tokyo, you can be in Kamloops. It's the same taste.
Tastes the same, yeah.
So that really helped, all those standardizations. And it was also how we packaged things, how we labeled things.
Right. You had great branding.
And just everything, even the amount of chicken in the chicken noodle soup was we had a unique way of doing it. But that was standardized. So that's when you have those controls in place, it is, I still worked very hard, but I had young kids. I wasn't there, till close. I wasn't opening the store, closing the store. I would be available. For the last many, many years, I didn't work weekends in the store unless, I would want to, Christmas time and Thanksgiving, and say hi to the customers and show my staff. It's crazy in there. Of course, I'm going to be in there helping and bringing in treats and all of those things. But that's what I remember most about that book, is if you don't have these things in place, then you're just a slave to the business, and people don't know what to do, and you haven't empowered them. Even if it was a complaint, we didn't get very many complaints, but they knew exactly how that was to be handled. And if someone wanted to talk to me, I would absolutely call them if I wasn't there, but they normally handled it. They knew how I wanted. I wanted them to leave happy and come back. And we never would make a mistake on purpose, but my goal was that if we made a mistake, the customer would be so thrilled with how we handled it, they would actually be an ambassador for our business, because mistakes do happen.
Wow. More businesses could learn from that.
Because I realized earlier on, like one example was, I remember it was we used to do these preset Valentine's dinners, and it was choose a soup, choose a salad, choose an entree, choose a dessert. Well, this was a long time ago when gluten-free was kind of a new thing where it was becoming more common. So for this one order, the gluten-free, what I gave this person, or what I told the staff to, was a dark or milk. I can't remember. Maybe it's one of each. Chocolate mint smoothie bar, because those are gluten-free. And the customer, some people may find this as a bit picky, but said, I was really disappointed. This was our first anniversary. He was, very nice about it, but I think you could have maybe put a little more effort in, because I forget if I was a cheesecake or something more special with fruit and creme anglaise for anyone who wasn't gluten-free. And I took that to heart, and I went, and I don't recall, honestly, if it was me or my staff. It probably might have been me. Handwritten note, and I delivered a whole bunch of gluten-free meals, because we were getting into that. So gluten-free soups and chilies, and said, you know what, you're right. That was, I'll be honest, I didn't think of that. I could have, even if I went and purchased a gluten-free slice of cake and said that and was honest about it, but something a little more special for Valentine's than a little wrapped chocolate.
Yeah.
And, apology, I really believe in owning it when you do, when you do
nice.
make a mistake.
Great
and
lesson.
they wrote me this letter back. And then over time, I just sort of over the years, they were a raving fan. So I never did things obviously on purpose, but when we did, I took a deep breath, put myself in their shoes, and said, how am I going to fix this? Because I looked at the lifetime value of a customer. Plus, I just want to do the right thing.
Right. So you were very customer focused.
That's all. I think we had great food, and there is great food to this day, but it's so much about the experience as well. People buying an experience and the trust they have in knowing that they're not going to buy anything there that, is beyond its shelf life, or like anything in that store. I tried. Anything. And taste is subjective, but there wasn't things where people would say, we have the most fabulous, let's just, again, you say cheesecake. Oh, okay, yeah, sure, we'll take these 4 flavors. I would try them all. Sometimes they'd make it to the store, sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes 2 flavors of something would make it in. Not that my word is gospel, but I had a philosophy that I have to feel like if I paid $19 for product XYZ, that I thought it was good value. I thought it was delicious. Because we really didn't get a lot of complaints or returns or
No, and that word of mouth traveled.
Absolutely, and you've always had that reputation, or the store always had the reputation, along with yourself, that it was professional, it was well done, it was replicable, it was consistent, and the quality was always there.
Yeah, quality for sure, number one. Yeah,
it's funny hearing your story from the beginning, because I remember those early days. Now, I wasn't half as organized as you are. And so it was a little bit more of a struggle for me, because likewise, we were in a niche that was developing, and there was a lot of competition. So there was, on every corner, there's a cafe. And so how do you differentiate yourself from the rest? And in Kitchener, it was really hard for me to be able to succeed. I ended up having to move to find success to somewhere that was more in line with what I believed it could be. Right. Whereas you're at the beginning, didn't understand, and just chasing your tail, trying to be like everybody else. And then in the beginning, I had a real hard time saying no to people. So you start going on all these tangents, and then you're like, oh my God, what is our product? What is it that we do? Why do we have 17 different procedures to be able to go provide different products to people? And so you learn over the years by the mistakes, but we don't also get a lot of complaints, because it's using technology, it's using science, and it's using consistency to create quality. Yeah. And so then you start to build that brand of quality, and then you stand by it. And if there's mistakes to own up to, you do, and you talk to customers, and you tell them, and you ask them, and you converse with them. What did we do wrong, and how do we make it better for you? And a lot of times that was the challenge.
I think it's a strength. The same way I think it's a strength if you're in a friendship or a relationship or whatnot, when you can give a proper sorry, like a proper apology. My dad
that comes
said
from a proper listening too.
Yeah, my dad says, I remember his 50th wedding anniversary with my mom. A happy marriage is the union of 2 good forgivers. But it's the same thing. I mean, we're not getting, we're not on a personal relationship podcast, but just to really, people really connect with that. They resonate with, I'm really sorry. And especially if they've, owned a business, or I guess if they've never owned a business, when you say, yeah, we dropped the ball there. You don't need to go on and on and on, but own it and do something. So for me, it would never be, this soup was too spicy. I wouldn't just give you a credit for that amount. It would be, well, please try this soup. And here's some cheddar herb scones to go with it. If you're taking the time to let me know, because that really, I think, is a gift, because I'd way rather someone come and say, you know what, there was just a little something here that wasn't quite enough chicken as there normally was, or whatever the issue was. Thank you so much. It may have been a batch error, We really pride ourselves on consistency and standardization, but please take another one. And then here's something else. We just launched our new blueberry shortbread. I'd love for you to have these too. No. No, I insist, please. Because if you don't tell me, I never have the opportunity to make
brilliant.
it right.
That is brilliant.
Do you find that same mentality is out there today?
Well, I know, like out when I'm out
in other businesses, maybe not directly, what would be competitive to your own, but I find personally that it's disappearing.
Yes, I think it's you find it now and then. And when I found it, I always told the staff about it.
Yes.
And when I didn't find it, I never complained, but I told my staff, and I'd ask. When we would have our huddles, or because it really makes them think about it as well. Like, how do you feel if you have a really bad experience and you maybe go to the trouble, and especially obviously you're polite about it, and if they just shrug your shoulders, or maybe there's someone on a minimum wage employee who's not been taught or how to handle it properly, it doesn't feel very good. And I really believe that in some of those cases, you say, I'm not going to go back. There's actually a store in Guelph. It was a clothing store, and I bought something there, and I wore it once, and it started to pill. Something was wrong with that fabric. I mean, and I called, and because it was a small business, it wasn't inexpensive. And I said, I told her what happened, fully expecting she would say, I'm so sorry. Oh yeah. Thinking she would take it back. I would buy something else. She'd return it to her manufacturer, her supplier. And she basically said, you're out of luck. I was shocked. And I just said, okay. And I'm not going to argue about it, but I will never go there again. Mm-hmm. And I liked the things in there. I thought that, to me, blew my mind. So that's an example. And I honestly, I didn't tell my girlfriends, and I'm not, it's just negative, but in terms of, I'm not going to go, some people say, they go and tell everybody, but I will not go back. And if that's how they typically handle things, I don't think they'll survive.
No, you're right.
Because there's lots of places to get great. It was a nice long,
I mean, I ask because I find it rare, and personally, I'm not a big diner because I grew up in the restaurant business, and for me, dining out is not enjoyable. It's too stressful in my head because it's not what I don't know. I see all the details that no one else does instead of enjoying what you're actually doing there. So it's always been a challenge. But the other day we were in north of Hamilton, and we stopped and got ice cream, and it was absolute chaos. It's a one-person store. It's a one-person shop. They have a bunch of different things and all of a sudden there was 30 people in line. And there was this 16-year-old girl tending to the bar, and she was absolutely amazing.
Really?
Zero stress. Wow. She handled it perfectly. She talked to everyone. She engaged. She told the people that were coming in, look, there's a big, she handled it like a pro. And I was so, so impressed. And then a little while later, she must have called for help because the owner came, and I just had to talk to the guy. I'm like, whoever she is, keep her. She's a keeper. You don't provide, people don't give you that kind of service anymore. It was amazing. And so I try to pride myself as when you do get that outstanding quality is to letting people know that you've received it, because it's more and more hard to find nowadays.
Oh, I told you that. I just had dinner actually the other night somewhere out, and I sent an email, and I just said, Caroline was amazing. A+.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's beautiful, because
I always appreciate that. Years and years ago, right, when I was a server, and so long time ago, I thought, I don't really. If someone was going to be hurt or something like that, if I went to an establishment and I saw a young person who's, handling equipment where they could get hurt, I would, of course, in that situation, I would talk to the owner. But if it's just lousy service, I just move on and decide if I want to go back. But when it is exceptional, I really make the effort to email or send a DM, or because I don't know. I think to lift someone's spirits. It's the right thing to do.
But I think, again, once you're proving you're not the normal person anymore, which is it's pretty amazing. But you're not. Nowadays, it's harder and harder to find, whether it's here or elsewhere. I find my experiences going to the U.S. and I am an American, but going to the U.S. it's worse and worse all the time. And I don't really know what to pin it on. I don't know if it's just how societies have developed or immigration patterns have developed or whatever it is, but it's not what it used to be in terms of that quality of service and that interpersonal, relationship that you have in that moment of service.
I have a theory on that.
Sure, Bill. What's your theory?
My theory is it's become too much of an accountant's world. And so you've got every restaurant that is part of a chain anyways, that has to find how to reduce staff, how to reduce costs, how to reduce service. Everything goes down to the minimum bare bones. Oftentimes they have to do it just to compete because the competing chains are doing the exact same thing and price has become the thing that everybody sells.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think it becomes a race to the bottom.
It
And I
definitely
think that
does.
the
Like everything's
standouts
becoming a
are-
race to the bottom now, I find. I mean, we talked about, let's not get into AI, but
Uh-oh.
we're just going, we're
Well, actually, no one can
homogenizing
see
everything.
this podcast, so Dana's not really here.
yeah, no,
She's an AI.
AI voice generated.
Yes.
Well, good thing you're making me sound okay. When you said that, it made me think about the price service triangle. So price, quality, service triangle. That around the same time as the E-Myth, I read that and I realized we can offer service, we can offer quality, we can't offer a good price. No, not that it wasn't a bad price, but we can't have a low price. So if you have a low price, you can then, like, do you know that the triangle where you can have the quality and you can have
Pick two.
the price, but you pick two exactly. So that's, but when you're right, I think what you said is, the accountant's world, we're now, I don't know if we've lost sight of that, but and then like then what you said, Ed, it's like a race to the bottom because you can't do it all. I'm sorry, you can't have great quality, great service, low prices. You can for a short time, and then you're out of business. Or you say, well, or an owner's working literally 17, 18 hours a day, going, what am I doing? I'm not making as much as some of my staff. So, that was another aha.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Introducing Eco Coffee's Spotted Frog Blend, where bold leaps meet smooth landings. Why choose between light and dark when you can have the best of both? Our 50-50 blend combines the bright, fruity notes of a medium roast with the rich, velvety depth of a dark roast. It's balanced, it's bold, it's ready to jumpstart your day. With a body length of about 20 centimeters, bullfrogs are the largest frogs in North America, as well as the champion jumpers. Kind of like this coffee. Big flavor, high performance, and a smooth finish every time. Spotted Frog Coffee Blend. Take the leap.
And now, back to the podcast. Okay. All right, Steve, you had a question.
What was it that compelled you to start your own business as opposed to finding a job with the skills that you had coming out of culinary school?
Why do you ask that, Steve?
Well, I have a daughter in a similar situation who has found a great job, but I have also read the E-Myth book, and that I've mentioned to her, you don't know anything about business, so don't consider that immediately as something that you should do. If it's something you want to do, either partner with somebody that understands business really well, or learn yourself, but don't make that the initial plan.
Don't do what I did.
No, do what you did. Don't do what I did, which was I didn't fit into the corporate world, so I had to do my own thing.
Well, I think I'll answer your question, but also, Steve, like with your daughter, maybe encourage her if she wants to. She can do something quite small, like in terms of to start, if she wanted to have her own, let's say, cake business.
She was doing that.
So that's a good way to start, because sometimes you do that and you think, oh my goodness, this is way too much work it could be the bookkeeping, it could be any number of reasons. But for myself, my dad was a lawyer, but he had his own small practice. So he was his own business and they had a building. My mom was an entrepreneur. She had her own business in a totally different field. So I grew up with that. I also think there's a couple more really significant reasons. One, I knew the hours in the typical industry, and I knew I wanted to have kids. And I knew I didn't want to be working until 11 at night or on Christmas Eve or all the times when a lot of typical food establishments, people are celebrating and they're out late and you're in the back. You're cooking because I love food and I wanted to cook, or I wanted to be in a food business, I should say. I knew I never wanted to be necessarily the one to make the Southwest chicken over and over and over. It was that. And I also never wanted to have, I don't think, a cap on how much I could earn.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's in an industry that, I mean, unless you're owning it, it is very hard. Now, if you work for maybe a multi franchise type business, like if you're the corporate chef for Milestones or something like that, you can do pretty well. But just in a general sense, a small business, when you're even the executive chef, there's only so much they can pay them, as well as then the owner making sense for them what they're taking home. So there were several things, and I think a little bit was I was so young, I didn't maybe necessarily realize how much work it would be. It all worked out, but I guess I had a lot of confidence in myself. I remember actually in high school, I wanted to sell cookies at the St. Jacob's Farmers Market. I had them, they were really cool. They were decorated. They were all in different shapes of fruit. But I applied and they said I was too young. I was 15. Now, I think nowadays, I don't know, but I wonder if that might change a little bit, or if they give someone younger more of an opportunity or
I just
chance.
noticed they have a young entrepreneurs section
Yeah,
at
whole
the market
section.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I did see that. I was walking into the one building and it was jewelry. I was in a bit of a rush, so I couldn't stop. But you're right. I forgot. Yeah, so they are doing that. But at the time, this was in the 90s. It was, red stamp denied, So I think I wanted to forget. That's lots of different reasons. I thought, I'm going to try this.
And you, so you started small and then built up, but you had the ambition to do it. You had good references. Like your mom was an entrepreneur.
Yeah. In that sense.
That sense, like you had good role models.
Oh, I you know what? I absolutely did. My dad used to say growing up, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Right.
I really do believe in that. So if I grew up in a house where I didn't see every single day people working hard, and my parents are such family people too. My dad actually made the breakfast. So he would go to work, come back, make us a nice breakfast, like on a school day. Eggs and toast and fruit and like things like that. Then we would sit down together as a family.
Nice.
Then we would all go to school, work. He would come back. My mom would make dinner. Like they had their roles, right? And they both worked hard. And then my dad, we'd have dinner together as a family, except for Tuesday night. That was committee of adjustments. I still remember this. And then my dad would go back to work. And then we'd be with my mom. And then weekends, we'd all be together. But I definitely saw, I saw people working really hard, but they made time for family. They made time for my dad, would occasionally, golf with friends. And so I think that
Did that translate into your own family?
Oh yeah.
As you had children?
That's one of the reasons why I started the business I did, because we closed at 7 p.m. We're closed on Sunday. Why I standardize everything, because I'm like, being a mom is even like way more, being a good mom is way more important to me than being a good business owner. So I knew that if I didn't get these things in place, I'm going to be a slave to this business. I'm not going to be able to leave. The phone's going to ring it off the hook. So that was, I really wanted freedom. And for myself, I wanted to be able to go to the gym. Don't get me wrong, Christmas is crazy. And I knew when I had my busiest time, there's no spin class. The kids, I'm certainly there and home and, at like 6 o'clock at dinner time and things like that, but I'm not home at 3 o'clock. Because that was the most critical time, like the fourth quarter of my business, or my former business, I should say. But overall, it was, I just had to be very organized and very thoughtful and considerate as to how I'm going to get everything done the way I want to do it. So I remember like the last several years of the business, and like a young employee, like a younger, maybe high school student or someone might say to me, "Oh, how do I print this label?" And I was like, so-and-so, I have no idea, because I knew, first couple of years I'm doing it all, but if I knew how to refund a credit card and how to print a label and then I'm going to be stuck doing those things, and I'm not going to be doing really what I need to do, which is the things I was skilled at, and then overall looking at numbers. So that's just things I think. I learned along
as
the way.
an entrepreneur, I think some of the toughest things to give up are the control of everything that you started doing. And so I found in the beginning, I had to do it all. But then you start to learn that you want experts to deal with their expertise, and you hire help, you pay help, you know, whether it's an accountant, whether it's, for many things, you bring the specialist in to help you with that situation or to define it. So now you know how to act upon it instead of having the learning curve of figuring it out. And those challenges in entrepreneurship are the ones that are hard to identify in the beginning because you think I can do it better than everybody else. So I'll just do it. And instead of taking a step back going, no, I have to teach them, educate them, and show them so that tomorrow, as Dana said, I don't have to be doing the label printing. That was taught to somebody else, and now they have that expertise.
And not just to one. I always had to be two. So if someone else is sick, if someone else moves on. Yeah. And and even things down, I forgot it, we were talking, I'm thinking, we had the chef at the time, Chef Mark. I filmed him. I don't know if it was me. I think I filmed a few, and then whoever it was at the time who helped me make every single dish.
Oh, wow.
Every single, how the shortbread were made, how our proprietary cheese torts are made, so that because at that time there was only one production cook. So not that I thinking, someone's going to walk off the job or whatnot, but if something happened, it's all filmed. And then when we had new cooks start, they'd watch the videos.
Wow.
So that took a lot of work, but then if you do it once, it's done. And same with all those standardized recipes. So when I think that made such a difference to me feeling comfortable walking away when I knew everything was so standardized, and they also had to test everything before it got packaged, because you have to taste. So to make sure that, what if for some reason, I don't know, this had never happened, but sugar was put in
with the
exactly.
I did that once.
Yeah, so things like that.
I was at the lower deck, and I was serving the
in
Cherries Jubilee.
in Halifax.
No, in underneath the charcoal steakhouse.
Oh yeah, that one was called that too. Sorry, there's a famous bar in Halifax. Yeah.
Yeah. So my prep guys brought over salt instead of sugar, and we couldn't figure out why it wasn't working.
That's so
Anyways,
funny.
That's aside.
But just so that
I get it.
It makes it's much easier,
Yeah.
much easier to step back. Now, does it mean that I had a way that I wanted the staff to greet people when they came in? How fast? Everything. I wasn't staring there watching every moment, but I trusted them, and I always heard, "Oh my gosh, your staff are so great. Even you're not in as much as you used to be," or I was still very involved, but I couldn't be on the sales floor very much. But I always would hear, "Your staff are awesome," which comes from also respectful and treating them well, and thank yous and please, and giving them the time off they want, and that makes it all very easier, I think, to trust in them and to have a life.
And how many years in did you have your first child?
4. Not even, 3, I guess, because he was born in 2008 and I opened in November of 2004.
That was just before the expansion.
It was happening all at the same time.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about the renovation either. That was crazy. That was the craziest part of the entire journey.
So keeping a business going while you're doing the renovations?
Yeah, so what we did, I'll try to keep this short. We wanted to invest in the business, or I wanted to invest in the business. My Aunt Susan really encouraged me to make it more of a brand, more of a destination. So that was, the kitchen stayed the same. So the kitchen was there, but Labor Day weekend, 2015, every single thing in that store, every freezer, every pen, chocolate bar, you name it, went down to the temporary store at the other side of the building. It's an L shape. And we did that everything had to be dismantled. We were in there I know this is like so shocking. We were in there. That was Labor Day, and my goal was I want to be back by Thanksgiving weekend, which people are like, "You are crazy." We could not get a general contractor to help us. So I became the general contractor, and I change a battery in my Ring camera, and I feel like I'm an electrician. So I don't know anything about it, but what I do know is treat people well, find good people, thank them. So we did it. We did all new branding, all new packaging, tore down walls. We got all new freezers, all new tables, painting, electrical. We opened up the ceiling tiles to the deck. It was an enormous, I've heard later, like that should have taken 7-8 months. But I talked to these guys, and one of the reasons is the trades work together, which I didn't realize they don't normally do that. And I just was honest and said, I really, like, is there, if anything you can do, I'll be here at midnight if you want me to be. I'll be here at 4 a.m. We made them anything they wanted to eat. I remember telling one day my kitchen staff, they asked for eggs Benedict. And she's like, I don't know how to make hollandaise. I'm like, that's what YouTube's for. So like, and I said to Susan, should we give them, like, I don't know, what else should we do? Should we give them like beer? She goes, no, don't give them beer. They're going to get tired. But get chocolates home to their wife. Like anything, I mean, we did anything you can imagine. It was an enormous amount of work, but they pulled it off. They responded. And I'm so grateful to those guys. And I referred a lot of work to them. And that was, I mean, those hours, people say, oh, I worked, 14 hours a day. For that period, because of my kids and wanting my kids to not, like I wanted them to see me, I would go into work around 4:35 a.m. I come home at 7:30. I would make them breakfast, and I think Mike was in a high chair at that time, or for sure, I think he was, and then take them off to school, daycare, go back, come back home at 5 o'clock, make dinner, be with them, bathe them, story, and then I would go back until like maybe midnight. Like it was insane, but all those other years did kind of teach me. I'm like, okay, I can't sustain that for 6 months.
Yeah.
But I can do that for 6 weeks.
Right.
And it really paid off, but there was a lot of tears. And then you just get up and do it again.
It did pay off.
I think that's what took.
It did.
Like this really amazing guy named Dave Freund. So he used to own Carve branding and marketing. He sold it, but I went to him because I was looking for a new website. And he, in the most diplomatic, nicest, kindest way, said, have you thought about sort of modernizing the store a bit? Because what we don't want to do, and he said it, he's so good with words, we don't want to have this website where it's fresh and current and modern, and people come in and it's kind of lime green and a
the messaging
mauve.
was not aligned.
And that's what led him to doing this presentation about how the olive oil can look, the packaging, the store. And I'm like, I want it all. And he was right. And that's what I do believe then the experience of the food, like the quality of the food then matched the experience in the store of that we are a brand, right? All new logo and packaging. And that the dish then, instead of a little Avery label on the mac and cheese, was something that people felt even more comfortable gifting. It looked really
like
craft
a gift, yeah.
and signature. Mm-hmm. And so, but that Renault almost killed me. I think it took me like 5 years to recover from how tired I was.
Oh, well,
I believe it.
That and having a child.
And kids and
kids.
Yeah. And I'd bring my kids in too. So sometimes I'd go pick them up, and I have a lot of really cool photos where like my youngest is in a shopping cart and he's got this big bag of cheesies. I wouldn't normally let him go to town on that. Well, you're having cheesies for dinner tonight. So whatever, right, to keep them happy. And my younger son was, do my little odd jobs.
So not only were the workers being kept happy, your kids were being kept happy by food.
But on my team in those days, I mean, oh my gosh, no one quit. That was crazy to move everything down to that store. And then it was just like they worked so hard. And
nothing like a big project or battle to bring people together. Because
right.
at the end of it, I'm sure everybody felt like they had contributed to the whole thing.
Oh, they totally did.
And then they felt this accomplishment that
Yes.
they don't normally get.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
when you open something, and particularly in the restaurant business, when you do an opening, it's a different mindset of that group to the rest that come on after. There's a whole different, I did a lot of openings of restaurants, and that cohesive unit that goes through the battles of getting ready to start, and then you actually launch the thing. That group is never, like when new hires come in after that, they have no understanding of the hoops that you had to jump through to get to that point where they just entered and waltzed in the door and they think everything's great. And you're like, you don't get it. We had to do all these things, but and they'll never be part of that. But it happens in everything. And it's not just, restaurants. It's any business that you launch. It's that cohesive unit that comes together to launch it is always different. Yeah. The OGs are very much different than the rest. And you learn over time that that's the way it is. But but sometimes you're like, what's the sauce how did we do this? But it's just because we bind as in that startup mode. We bind in a way that's really difficult to continue after. Right?
Do you know the Center for Family Business? Do you guys know that organization, Center for Family Business?
Yes.
And they meet once a month, and I was a part of that group for many years. And every month they would have a story on a different business, and you would see these photos from original days and how you started and where you're at now. So that 20-minute slideshow, I would try my best with a new hire. I wouldn't be doing any of the training for many years on the cash and opening, closing, cooking, whatever it may be. But I would try to sit down with anyone new, and we'd go through this, and I'd show them, this is my first headshot. They're like, oh my God, you look 12. Or this is the original store, which is just our kitchen. And they'd see it's 120 square feet. Totally not the same as being there, but it did give them some sense of like, I didn't just wake up and, you know, and all of a sudden I'm, have these pretty flexible hours, and you know what I mean? Because it's easy for some people or younger people to think that.
They'll take it for granted.
Well, and I mean, as an owner today, I still find it hard to walk out the door before closing. And I always feel guilty to this day still.
Stop it.
I do. But it's something that I think entrepreneurs have in them. It's that obligation that's 24/7 in here. That doesn't mean that you have to be present or that you're doing, but it's always in there. And I think that people that outside of our entrepreneurial kind of beings,
they don't get it.
They just shut it off at 5
They
p.m.
don't get it.
Yeah.
I'd
say I'm always here in spirit, guys. Or my line would be if I'm just coming in with coffee on a Saturday to say hi, or whatnot, I would say, just jokingly, but I'm here for a good time, not a long time today.
Yeah.
But I think, it's...
That's an old reference.
Yeah, I know.
You're dating yourself.
That's fine. I don't care. I like getting older.
So with how organized you were and how set up you were for franchise possibility, did that ever occur to you to try and franchise it? Yes or no? And why?
It did occur to me.
I always thought it should be.
When I was younger, it did. I remember watching this video, Ron Joyce, the founder of Tim Hortons, really good, like DVD. I'm dating myself there too. And he said you have to have 7 stores, in his opinion. I read all his books. 7 stores that run really well, profitable, they run smoothly before you even consider franchising.
Of your own stores.
Of your own.
I see.
So 7 Dana Shortt Gourmets, one in, let's say, Hamilton, one in Dune, one in wherever. They all have to be running well, making money, everything else before you even consider it. That made sense to me. And it's not to say that I would never have done that, but to be perfectly honest, I like my ex-husband, I'm divorced and we get along great. I'm very grateful for that. We co-parent really well, but that wasn't his dream. He supported me as best he could with his own career. So I think in order to really go huge like that and to still be able to have the household running smoothly and whatnot, you're going to have someone, this is just my opinion, but having to buy into that. And then when we got divorced, so that's another whole topic, right? How the stress of being an entrepreneur, owning something that, having a hard time walking away or not having a normal situation where you might be having an anniversary dinner and the phone goes, the alarm went off. Like, I had that happen a couple of times, right? Where the store was broken into. That also, when I did get divorced, I'm like, I want my number one goal at the end of my day and then my life is that my kids say mom was an awesome mom more than having multiplications. I'm not saying it wouldn't have necessarily happened or even if someone had come to me. I had people many times wanting me to have for other locations. But at the time after that reno, the kids were young. The stars didn't align, but I think it would have been a tremendous amount of work. And I do think you need a lot of support. For me as a woman, I think you would probably need a nanny. And I'm nothing wrong with that. I just didn't want that. I wanted to be the one to go to the store and pick out my kid's Halloween costume. And I was always really clear on what I want. I wanted to have time to do my workouts. That was really important to me. That was modeled to me. Not to say, but it's pretty darn hard to do it all,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I agree with you in the family aspect of it is that, I have a son and I drop it all for him. And that came, that's day one. It's the first thing that comes to mind is like any other reason, you drop it for your children.
Yes.
Because I also have the aspiration of being a great father. I didn't come from a cohesive family unit like yours. My parents divorced early, and so it was a different learning. And so I always knew that I was not going to be that dad. I was going to be the dad that was present, that was involved, and interaction always. And always had that communication with your kids. So doesn't really tie
we all
into
have that in common because
Well, but
Steve
it-
did the same thing.
But
Yeah,
with
I was a stay-at-home
entrepreneurs,
dad.
it's a
Wow.
slippery slope that
Awesome.
some people can't deal with. Or
No, they can't
cope
manage
with.
it. That's
And
why I
that-
think it's a very important question to ask yourself is, what are you willing to sacrifice for this business?
Money was never, like, money's great, right? Money lets us travel and have nice things, but that was never, ever my number one motivator, not even close, I think. And there's,
high five
it is
from
not
me.
wrong if it is for someone else, because their goal might be they want to provide a luxurious lifestyle for their family and multiple homes. So I'm not knocking that in any way. I always was very clear on who I am, my values. I think, like we said, growing up at the dinner table and the breakfast table. So I think that knowing that, like Northern Star, knowing that, to me, having franchising in 7 stores, 10 stores, part of that would have to be, I'd have to be really driven by money.
And it's a different kind of business then. It's the business of franchising.
Like, I wanted
it's
to do
not
well,
the business
but
of
yeah.
Well, and I think something else that you just brought up that not most people think about is, I'm in coffee, so I love coffee. I'm going to be involved in coffee. That's not owning a business. You don't get to do the thing that you love as the business all that often because you actually have to manage the business.
Right.
And so a real entrepreneur understands that this is the thing that we built it around, and it's something special to be able to be in that core part of it. But it doesn't work if all the other components aren't being addressed. So you have to have that ability to zoom in and zoom out. And so most of the time you're zoomed out to see the whole picture. And so there's special opportunities where you can zoom right in. And for me, it's cupping. It takes everything else out of the equation. It's just you and the taste that's in front of you, and that's it.
So let's put this in music terms too, because there are a lot of artists, and a lot of what we're going to be doing is music. So it's not just the startups, but a lot of people get into music and there are different aspirations. There's different goals. There are some that start out thinking that they're going to be a star. And then there are some that they just love music so much. We had Tim in on our last interview, and he talks about how he built his business and his relationship with music and as a business and the sacrifices and all of those things, and where he realized where he wanted to be with music is where he ended up. So it's that combination. It's the relationship between music and business is so clear. And you can get into a business as a lifestyle. You can get into it as an incredible money maker, as a freedom maker, there's a lot of different reasons for people to get into business. But understanding that if you want to take it to a certain level, Mateo wants to be a soccer player. If he wants to be the best soccer player, he's got to practice every day. Like, his friends won't see him.
Yeah,
Honestly.
we talk about that. We talk about that often because he's already falling behind.
Yeah.
And any athlete in Canada, unless they're in some specialty hockey program or at a specialty sports school, they're falling behind every day.
Yeah.
Because here a rigorous schedule is 6 hours a week. In most places, it's 6 hours a day of just soccer. And so every day you've lost, 5 hours
That
against your
competitive edge.
competition. So it is, and music is the same way. If you want to be a star and you want to be the best at it ever, then you don't have a rest of life because that's what it takes to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't wish him to be that superstar because I don't see a lot of great role models that are those superstars because they became so hyper-focused in what it is that they do that they forgot that there's a world around them and that there's a family and that there's people that they
miss
have to
out
be
on
kind to, and that in order to be kind back.
Yeah. we know how you got to where you are, but
She drove here.
In a big pickup truck that I don't really need
I thought you
anymore.
came in a
now that I don't
limousine.
have
Did
the
we
store.
not send the limousine? Oh man, sorry.
You really
dude.
drive a pickup truck?
Yeah,
Wow.
I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I needed it for the store. Now I'm like, I don't really need it. I don't
Okay.
have the store, but I love it. It's a
You
Sierra.
don't have a store
It's big.
now, and that's
Yeah.
where we're heading. You don't have the store now. So what prompted you to sell the store? And how did that go? And what were the trials and tribulations related to that?
Oh, wow. Okay. So a couple years ago, so 2 years ago this past May, my benefits specialist for the store, really great guy, he said, you got to meet Simon Fallows, Freedom for Founders, Premium Mergers. He does this discovery program where it's an in-depth 6-week program on really like the MedCan for your business. So like when you like a MedCan, the health assessment where you go to Toronto all day long. This is like a sort of a, that I like to think of that analogy as for your business. So it's 8 metrics on how owner dependent is your business, how much do you rely on your like your customers, or do you have 2 major customers that if they left you're in big trouble? I mean, a whole bunch of different metrics. And then they do it's a certified business valuation, looking at all your numbers last 3 to 5 years of financials. So I wanted to do that. I really thought, like Simon would say, it's for most business owners, it's their biggest asset, and so many business owners don't really know what it's worth. They may ask their accountant at year end, but that's, one person's opinion. They're not doing that necessarily for a living. So
And they're just looking at one thing, the accountant.
yeah, exactly. They're not asking you those questions about some of those metrics. So I did that. It was really valuable. I got to spit out like a 30-page sellability report, the strengths, the weaknesses, the number. And when I saw that, to be perfectly honest, I thought if I get that number, I'm good to exit, because I've done it for a long time. I loved it. I wasn't burnt out. I didn't want to reach a stage of burnout. I'm very creative, but so it was, I thought, let's quietly take this to brokerage and see what happens. And I was really open to the possibility that someone might approach me and say, hey, we have this capital. We do want to eventually have you involved with 7 stores where I'd be more of a spokesperson or things like that. So, that is sort of the quick story, but it was a really interesting learning. How long was it? I think it was the end of that summer that I realized I wanted to very quietly take it to brokerage. It doesn't go into MLS or anything like that. Because I realized I think I've taken it as far as I want to. At one point I was saying as I can, and I'm like, no, it's not as far as I can. I know I could, but I know that there would be other sacrifices that I didn't want to make. And I did have several offers, and ultimately I did sell to a couple, Mike and Tanya, and they're doing great. But Simon is a very big thinker, the broker. So he's very open to, he's done lots of different mergers and sales where it doesn't have to just look one way. But it was really me thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe I'd like to try something else in a totally different field at some point. I've been doing this my entire life. I mean, I started catering with, when I was in chef school on the subway and bus. And so it had been 25 years. And I was open to just exploring, hey, what might be out there.
Do you know what that is?
Well, I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah, no, I'm doing a little consulting. I took a little break. I mean, I really, like you guys know, my kids are number one. And I was like, I want to be the mom that says yes whenever they want me to drive them to Chicopee and back. And now my younger son is obsessed with golf. He was supposed to be golfing tonight, but he's not feeling well, so he's devastated. But so little bit of a break doing, just even more stuff with my kids. And then I have to be creative. That's just in me. So I'm learning a lot about edible flowers. I'm incorporating them into all kinds of foods. And my girlfriends, I was at a girls' night on Friday night at Conestoga Lake, and I had rimmed all the champagne glasses with crushed edible flowers and rock sugar. And I've got violets in our asparagus dish. And my friend Julie's like, okay, this is what happens when you're friends with Dana Shortt. But I've been learning more about travel because I may want to do some food tours. I I mean, I'm not really sure. I'm just really starting to actually start thinking about it because I did want to. It was a really busy. Your other question about the sale. I mean, that was I was extremely busy year and a half. I knew it'd be work, but I did not realize how much work it would be to sell a business and gathering all the documents and data and private store tours after hours. And so I was ready and I did all the training last fall and Christmas, which is by far the busiest time. So I was ready to just take a little exhale and, just be with my family, get to any gym class I wanted to,
All right. So now, how long did it take you to get bored from that?
Oh, I started doing things in like late January. So probably I went out to see my aunt in BC, the aunt I've talked to you about, and we did literally nothing other than I think we watched like 22 movies. I cooked. Yeah, it was insane. All girl movies, all like just very fun Christmas, all kinds of things. And I did quite a bit of cooking, and that's it. And we walked her dog. So I did that for a week, and
must have felt like a lifetime to you.
Yeah, it was great though. It was awesome. Sometimes you need that, right?
Yep.
I told my dad, I go, Dad, that sounds like absolute hell to you. He goes, pure hell. Like some people can't. Like, I can turn it off.
Oh, that's good.
I really can. But right away. I mean, I like to be creative and busy, and so I've been doing all kinds of courses. I'm right now taking a flower arranging course. It's online. It's a really intense course. I love it. It's out of Washington, so I don't know if that'll lead to something, but I'm having fun.
That's nice. That's cool. Yeah, I can't see you settling.
No, just the vibration that comes from talking to you is pretty amazing because
it is exciting.
You're dynamic and you're always thinking and processing, and there's a lot of process going on right in front of us, which is really interesting to see.
Yeah, my head doesn't really stop too much.
I remember I was listening to a podcast once, and the first person that I heard explain something of that nature that really resonated with me was actually an interview with Elon Musk. And he said to him, ideas, like to most people, you get an idea and you kind of deal with it and you kind of run it through your head. But inside of his brain, it's like a meteor shower of ideas all the time, 24/7. And it's been that way his whole life. And he just has to pick one and grab it. But they're all flying by all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying, for me, it's not like that, but there is always ideas in my head and it never stops. And I never want to sit down and do nothing. It's always something. And I need to have hobbies on the side if I'm not doing this, or I'll just do this. Mm-hmm. And I have to get away from this to have clarity as to what this actually is anymore, because it becomes so ingrained. But it's that ability of understanding and being able to stop and look at those ideas and assess them and see which one you want to actually choose and pick. So you're in that phase of just grabbing stars and looking inside of them and going, oh, this is cool, that's not, oh, this interests me, that does not. And it's fun. It's really an enjoyable time. But it's hard to disconnect for people that are entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. I find for me the easiest is getting on a plane. Somehow everything shuts off when the plane takes off. It just all stays back there. And I at that point, I don't even care about my phone, my computer. I always bring them.
Right, yeah.
But I don't open it anymore. I'm like, whatever it is, I'm in a plane now. There's no changing what I'm doing. And
that's why we're not giving Ed any mission critical duties in our partnership here.
Because if he travels, whoop,
he's gone. Lights out, baby.
But it is. That's the disconnect point for me. When I travel, a lot of people get stressed about travel and they're thinking about it all the time and they're planning and they're getting ready to be doing this. A trip doesn't start till you're on the plane.
Right.
That's when you can let go and just
right.
Kind of just,
and I do let go completely. It's like shut that other part off. Mm-hmm. It'll be there waiting for you as soon as you get back. So you might as well just shut it off and go versus carrying all the burden with you everywhere. That's a challenge.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Well, speaking about shutting it off, letting it go.
Why is it always when I'm talking that you shut me down?
Because I know you can go for 2 more hours.
Fine.
Because you have a lot of brilliant things to say, but we have a lot more podcasts to do. And
it's so fun talking to you guys.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, Dana.
Well, thank you. This was great.
I've been to your store many, many times. Friends have always
It's not hers anymore.
It's not hers anymore, but I'm sure she's happy to promote for the new
Absolutely.
owners because they're just as
Absolutely.
great as Dana.
Yeah, they're
was,
doing
I'm sure,
awesome.
'cause
and
she would not sell it to someone.
I'm going to go in
buy
there
things
the next couple days and just ask, are you Dana?
They changed their name, legal name change. Yeah, I am now. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming in and giving us insights. Hopefully that there is so much there. I mean, it was from the people who helped you, from the sacrifices that you made, from the vision, to right to the end, working with Simon to figure out how to sell the business and everything in between, the importance of family and the love of family and the commitment to family. I think that's core to the three of us. I think that's what brings us together is we've always held our family as number one before anything else, and we'll continue to do so. And it's great to meet other people who are just like us.
Yeah, it's awesome. I loved our conversation. Thank you so much.
Well,
No, thank you. This is fun.
we hope to see you again.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait till your next venture.
Yeah, well, maybe a book.
Okay.
I like to ask that. People have asked me to write a book. So
That's a great
and
idea.
you just what you just closed with, I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe there is something there. Maybe I should write a book.
Yes.
But you'd be done in 20 minutes.
No, I
can call it-
got way more
No.
stories.
You can call it the D myth.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
We're on to something. I look forward to buying it.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
Forget what you think you know about Colombian coffee. This isn't just another bean. This is the raw beating heart of Santander in your cup. We pull this liquid gold directly from the soul of its lush, elevated landscapes where generations have poured their very essence into cultivating something extraordinary. Every single sip isn't just a journey, it's a declaration of flavor that screams Colombia. This is Santander, pure and unfiltered, at its absolute finest, the unmistakable soul of a nation's craft. From our earth, this coffee is simply done right. Taste the damn difference.